Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
You've been through so much, like for instance, the 2016 Grey Cup. How hurt were you? Because I'm sitting there watching the game, getting ready to watch it all on TSN, like, Henry's got a knee injury, right? And we're like, oh, my God. How bad was it that day?
Oh, it was bad, honestly. It was bad. Even leading up that week, I was constantly getting treatment on my knee, and I just knew something wasn't right. But it was unfortunate that in the game, on the best surface possible, playing on grass, which players always welcome, that's when everything just kind of went awry during the pregame warmups, and I felt a pop in my knee. And we all know, for those who've experienced just a slight cartilage tear, when it happens, you know right away. And I'm thankful for the doctors and the staff with the Ottawa Red Blacks at the time, and the Ottawa nurses from the city of Ottawa, who came together and were able to come up with some concoction and inject it into my knee and give me some painkillers. But regardless of Alex Singleton and Micah Johnson and those guys hitting me left and right during that game, I couldn't feel it. So I could, I would look them in the eye when they would say, "Hey, boom!" I know that had to hurt. I'd say, "Guys, I can't even feel it right now." But it felt good. It kind of put the icing on the cake for me to be able to go there and do what I needed to do, just to finish my career off in the right way. But trust me, my knee was all jacked up, and that's the reason why, for me, if we had to play another period in overtime, it would have been tough for me to survive that, because by the end of that game, my knee was completely locked out due to the amount of swelling that was in my left knee.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
He lives in the Calgary area. He's like, Rodney, get your pads on. Mercer's back's bad. I'm like, okay. But I always had it in the back of the trunk of my car. And Nabokov lined up 10 pucks. He goes, you, me, 10 shots, 10 goals. How many do you think he scored on me? The Siberian sniper, first round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. How many do you think he scored? 8. 5. Come on.
Whoa. This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, man, skate every day. Skate every day. That's what our first guest is going to tell you in a second. Welcome inside the RP Show, everybody, here on Game Plus Television, Canada-wide TV, 31 U.S. states, including New Jersey. Dean Millard coming up on today's show. Dean Ducky Millard, famed Edmonton broadcaster. Jim Clubber-Lang, Canada's NFL expert in Hour 2. Going to be a lot of NFL stuff in Hour 2. But we welcome to the program with Moose on holidays. Moose ain't here. We got Jersey Jim, and guess where he is? New Jersey. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Rod. Not much. Another sunny day here, another warm one here in New Jersey, but that's okay. Off-season's here. Glad to be here. Kicking off the program hot and heavy.
Let's go. I love it. I love it. I love it. Did we say hit the show horn? And who's directing today? It's Tuna. It's Tuna Turner. And everything is happening, as Bob Cole would say. And before I let you go, Jersey Jim, before I let you go, I was thinking about this morning. I'm going to give you 16 minutes to percolate on it, so hang on. And everybody, for that matter, because I was out for a long walk listening to Dan Patrick this morning, and I'm thinking he's got to be on the Mount Rushmore of American sportscasters. So I want everybody to think, who's on the Mount Rushmore of American sportscasters and Canadian sportscasters? And you can write that in on the YouTube feed if you're watching there, or 902-518-3033. Don't just blurt it out. Put a little thought in it, for God's sakes. So the big story, Jersey Jim, before I bring you in for what I actually wanted to talk to you about, the big story is the Olympics. And up here north of the 49th parallel, Canada, we learned today, lost its appeal against the deduction of 6 points following a drone spying scandal in the Olympic women's soccer tournament. The Court of Arbitration for Sport today said its panel of 3 judges dismissed Canada's appeal and confirmed a 6-point deduction imposed Saturday by FIFA. 2 assistant coaches used drones to spy on New Zealand's practices last week before their opening game. In a way, that's like old news, other than Canada appealed, they lost, and we move on. And it all seems like old news. It was literally, Jim, last week. What's on your radar Olympic-wise, if anything at all, man? Because I know you're hockey number one. What's your Olympic viewing deal right now?
So my Olympic viewing deal is a lot of it's on Peacock here in the States. I watch a lot of the tennis in the morning. because I follow the ATP, WTA tours, and I'm a big tennis guy. So I've been watching like Djokovic, Alcaraz, the Americans, obviously Tommy Paul, Fritz, guys like that, the doubles. I've been watching a lot of tennis. Love the swimming. I love to watch the swimming, the diving, that kind of stuff as well. Usually throw whatever's on. If there's crew rowing, that's fun to watch. The rugby sevens, I've been really a big fan of that. Never played rugby, but it's always fun to watch. The physicality of that sport. The soccer, obviously everybody's into the soccer. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of old news, but it reminds me of Spygate with the NFL and the New England Patriots and Pio. Yeah. So, I mean, look, if everybody's doing it, it's like the cycling and everything. Like, people cheat, okay? I guess it's part of the sport, but it's not. However, again, my Olympic viewing is really like two sports. It's tennis and swimming, and then whatever's on.
Hey, good for you, man. Listen, I made the mistake of dipping into the comments, and they'll wait. I'll come back on that. But here's my thing. I've been sitting there just turning on the television, similar to you. It's like the block on the program grid just says Olympics coverage. So I put it on and I watch whatever they put in front of me. I wouldn't even know where to single out to watch a sport if I wanted to, right? So I'm just going from beach volleyball to, like you say, tennis to this to the basketball's been big, rugby. I'm watching it all, and I'm enjoying it all. But I will say this. I yesterday put it on NFL Network because I kind of felt like I was missing out a little bit in training camp, and it was just like, put it in my vein. It was so good. They were broadcasting from the sidelines of Vikings camp. Then they were dipping out and going down to Tampa Bay, and there was a big storm there. So they were at Bucks camp and Vikings. I love that. But, I mean, the Summer Olympics only come around once every 4 years. So you got to enjoy it while you can. Okay, moving on. Make your birthday unforgettable at Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw. Book your birthday party with us for a fun-filled celebration packed with sports, games, and endless excitement. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com to reserve your spot today. Moving on. Listen, we're going to get to all the football, but we're not going to talk CFL with Jersey Jim. He's a hockey guy from Full Press NHL. He was at the Stanley Cup Finals. He was at the NHL Draft. He was covering free agency. And now today, for those that say they're missing hockey, and to be honest, I am too, and I'm sure you are, Jim, but I would encourage anybody as a professional recovery coach to say, instead of focusing on what isn't, enjoy what is. And that's why we're watching the Olympics and everything else. Doesn't mean we can't talk hockey. So this morning, NHL Network puts out their Stanley Cup favorite odds. And Jim and I put our heads together before the show, and you said it's very similar to what the Vegas odds are for Stanley Cup futures. And the top five are these. And I'm going to get your take and everybody else's that are hockey fans here. And you're on the air in Canada, so you know there's hockey fans. Number one, the Edmonton Oilers. Number two, the Florida Panthers. Number three, Colorado Avalanche. Number four, Dallas Stars, a.k.a. the usual. And then number five, the New Jersey Devils. What? They missed the playoffs last year, Jim. They have a new coach, Sheldon Keefe. Why? What? Are you? I'm shocked, but you're there. You cover the team. Are you not shocked? They are the number five favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year.
To me, I think it is a little high, but I will say because of what they did in the additions, the Jacob Markstrom, the addition in goal with Jacob Markstrom, you have Jake Allen as your backup. Not to mention you add Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon on the back end. You traded for Paul Cotter. You signed Tomas Tatar. You bring in Stefan Nason. You have the new coach. You have the weapons, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Timo Meier. And then obviously the defense, Luke Hughes, Simone Nemec, Jesper Bratt, Dawson Mercer's there as well. You can see why Vegas put them fifth, because are there teams behind them that are better, that can do something? Yes, but from what the Devils did in the offseason, and again, I like to say they're the way too early odds because we're in the summer. It is the offseason. Yeah. No one wins the offseason and no one wins free agency, and you don't win the Stanley Cup in the summer. If you did, then a lot of other teams would have their name on the Stanley Cup, and the Florida Panthers have theirs, and you look what they do in the offseason, and they just tweak a couple of things, and then they're right back in the final and win Stanley Cups. So I like the top two. To me, I think Edmonton, Florida, but it will be tricky for Florida to get back to a Stanley Cup final for 3 straight years. But they still have a really, really good team. But as far as the Devils concerned, I think fifth makes sense. Again, just based on what they did in the offseason. Again, the goaltending, I think, is the biggest thing for them. They just didn't have it last year. A lot of injuries. And if, again, we saw it with Paul Maurice in Florida. It took some time to understand the coaching. If the Devils can get clicking right away, they can get right where they need to be, top of that division, and figure out a way to make a deep run in the playoffs. But again, I think sitting 5 is good. Colorado, to me, may be a little high just because, again, they don't have a number 2 center. Goaltending is a little questionable, but the usual suspects are there.
Well, Jersey Jim with us from Surprise, Jersey. Look, I'm buying everything that you're selling, but I think number 5 in a 32-team league is for somebody that we're not just hoping gets better, that we know is going to be a contender, like a New York Rangers. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of teams that could be in the top 5 ahead of the New Jersey Devils that actually went to a conference final last year or did something. Even the Vegas Golden Knights, New Jersey missed the playoffs. We don't know. But again, that's what makes these shows fun. Before we move on to the Canadian teams, by the way, you sniffed out in January, or was it February, correct me, that Jacob Markstrom was going to go to New Jersey. And it eventually happened. You called it. Can I ask you what you knew? Is that too invasive of a question?
No, it's not too invasive of a question. And yes, it was around January, February, around the turn of the month. That's when I was hearing a lot of things about Markstrom in New Jersey. And the Flames were coming through New Jersey. They were doing their trip through the New York metro area, facing the Islanders and the Rangers and the Devils. And, there were inclinations that Tom Fitzgerald was going to make an upgraded goal because you just saw at the beginning of the year that things weren't working out. And once the Dougie Hamilton injury happened and he went on LTIR, the Devils had the money to do it. They just couldn't get the package settled down, right? That was the big thing. Craig Conroy, the Flames GM, the Devils GM, Tom Fitzgerald, they were working things out, but they couldn't get it across the finish line. But that was the guy they had always targeted. Yes, there were other guys. There was Olmark, there was Saros, but the asking prices were way too high. And Tom Fitzgerald knew, come the summer, maybe the price goes down a little bit. He doesn't have to give up too much, and they didn't. But that was their guy. They circled him. They wanted him. And when Markstrom and the Flames ended the season, you could hear in his voice that this was the place he wanted to go. He had waived his no trade clause to come to New Jersey, and that was the only place he wanted to go. He knew about the team from Igor Sharangovich, Tyler Toffoli had talked to, guys he's played with, guys he knows. And he found out New Jersey is going to be the place. They're going to be a contender, a good young team coming up, a lot of pieces there. So they just continued to work at it, grind at it. And I always heard that Markstrom was the number 1 guy that they targeted, and they were going to get it done. And that was the first order of business outside of getting the coach done. And once the coach came aboard, there was a little bit of tidbit to me saying, hey, coach wants a number 1 goalie. We got to go get one. Here we are today. Jacob Markstrom's the number 1 goalie for the New Jersey Devils.
Jim's on it, y'all. Just in case you wondered, there's proof right there. And I like the fact that they had targeted him as the number 1 goalie they wanted, that of goalies they thought were available. There's a lot of great goalies that are entrenched with their teams. Markstrom wasn't. And speaking of that, well, watch them go on and win a Stanley Cup now, like all the other former Flames, like Tkachuk and Sam Bennett and Ryan Lomberg and these guys. So only 4 minutes left with Jimmy. We're going to get him out of here. But the Canadian teams, in terms of odds, Edmonton, Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Ottawa, and then Montreal and Calgary weren't even on the page. I had to guess. I'm guessing they got Montreal ahead of Calgary just because they're that much further ahead in a rebuild. And I don't think that's news to people in Calgary. They know that they're heading into a very painful time with their hockey team. But what they're saying is Edmonton's number 1 in Canada, Toronto's number 2 in Canada, Vancouver 3, Winnipeg 4, Ottawa 5. You go along with that?
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Absolutely. I mean, you look at it, Edmonton got to a cup final last year, fell in Game 7 of Florida Panthers. pretty much bring back their same team that they had last year with the depth guys, Perry, Henrique. I use a little bit, but yeah, Jeff Skinner, Victor Arvidsson. A full offseason now with Chris Knobloch. Get the new GM in there, Stan Bowman. Like it, hate it, whatever. I think guys deserve second chances. Bowman has showed that. They're going to add, it takes over a good team. McDavid's there, Draisaitl. This team is ready to go, and they're motivated. They lost in Game 7. If there's a team that can get back there, even though it's tough to do, I think it's the Edmonton Oilers. Toronto, you always got to put Toronto high, but again, they got to do something in the playoffs. Vancouver lost to Edmonton. They're right there too, but again, they lost some players. It's going to be tough. That Pacific Division is always tough. And Winnipeg, to me, I think Winnipeg, there's a lot of question marks around that team, even with Connor Hellebuck there, Mark Scheifele, and Kyle Connor. They didn't really do much. They lost some pieces, but again, they always figure out a way to get it done. And again, Montreal definitely ahead of Calgary. I think Montreal is moving what they've done with their young defense. Jack Guy just signed Barron, now Caden Gooley. They're moving, taking another step closer to the playoff picture. Not there yet, maybe another year or two. And then the Sens, I think everybody expects the Senators to take another step. They should make the playoffs, or not should, I should say. The expectations are they need to compete for a playoff spot and hopefully get in. But again, that division's tough. But I like those odds for the Canadian teams.
Jersey Jim came to play today. You haven't had any time to think about the Mount Rushmore of American broadcasters. I don't mean to hook you, and you can tap out. You can tap out if you want. But I'm listening to Dan Patrick going for this long walk in beautiful Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And I'm like, Dan Patrick's got to be on that Mount Rushmore of U.S. broadcasters. And for you Canadian viewers, we'll push this for the rest of the day, and probably the boat will come into port when Jim Lang's with us next hour. But here's what I'm saying. Dan Patrick, in no particular order, Howard Cosell, Marv Albert, Bob Costas. What do you think? Just what comes to mind, Jim?
I think you got to put Costas up there. Dan Patrick. I grew up on Dan Patrick and Keith Overman on SportsCenter, The Big Show. I mean, those two guys had great chemistry. Dan Patrick, to me, is probably one of the best up there. Howard Cosell came into my head. Joe Buck's up there, to me, is another guy that you could put up there as well on the Mount Rushmore. I have no issue with Marv Albert. Maybe I exchanged Joe Buck and Marv Albert. But, I mean, to me, either way, I mean, those are great. Bob Costas is too. I mean, Costas is just synonymous. Again, Olympics. Al Michaels, that's another guy you could throw on the Mount Rushmore. There's another guy. So many great options in the American broadcasting field. But I think, to me, I think if I narrowed it down, Patrick, Cosell, Al Michaels, and Costas.
Not Joe Buck? Not Joe Buck?
No, I think I'll take Buck off and I'll put Al Michaels in, just because the significance. Again, he did Olympic coverage too, and he was on the call for the Miracle on Ice in Lake Placid, and he, football, and he knows a lot of stuff. But to me, I think I could go. You could replace either guy, but I think those are my four.
Yes, for 3. Yes, they're all great. They're all great. As are you, Jim. Say hi to your mom for me, and let's do it again soon. Thanks for helping us out today, bro.
Always a pleasure, Rod. Always glad to be here. Absolutely. Shout out to my mom. Always watching. And you're great as well, pal.
Thank you. She's watching on Game Plus television down there in New Jersey. So when we come back, ball for all. A lot of CFL talk. Got some NFL stuff cooking for you. Blue Jays. A lot. So we'll be right back. This is the warm-up, and we are live on Game Plus, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men Without Hats. And Spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it absolutely is. Thank you, Rick Regan. What do we got for you here? Sponsor reads, that's what. Hey, brought to you in part by Saskatoon's Battle for Recovery. Join award-winning recovery speakers like singer Shaylin Fox, podcaster Daniel Hearn, Dr. Wendy Gore-Hickman, and Hall of Fame broadcaster and sober coach Rod Pedersen at TCU Place in Saskatoon as we celebrate recovery and share experiences from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday, August 30th. For tickets, go to empowertorecover.com. That's the number 2, empowertorecover.com. Just for fun, spits and giggles. Let's see what they're saying on the old text line here. 902-518-3033. Bruce Kane writes in, and he is in the Queen City. He says, hi, Rod and crew. I watch your show just about every day in the evening. Can you get rid of that Stampeders bell? How about a Rough Riders bell or a Team Canada bell instead? Or a Blue Jays bell?
How about that?
Yeah, that's not happening, Bruce. This was a gift from the Calgary Stampeders. I enjoy it, and it works perfectly. If it upsets you, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. I suggest you look into that. Didn't get into this with Jim Biringer because he wouldn't care about Nathan Rourke. But I threw this out on Twitter this morning just so you know. It would appear there will be a bidding war for Nathan Rourke's services when he eventually returns to the CFL, because I think we're all thinking that he will. And I just asked, do you think any team Could he get up to $1 million? You have to understand, a lot of people were writing in saying, well, no, he shouldn't get paid any more than $600,000. You're right, but that's not what I asked. I said, do you think a team will give him $1 million? These owners can't stay out of their own way. You know that, right? It's about the shiny thing. It's about greed. It's about what it's. I want that. And I can afford it. I'm buying it. That's what they do. So I'm saying, which team is going to do that? Who's got a zany enough owner with deep enough pockets to do that? Whether they think that, oh, we'll fill the stadium, it'll pay for. I don't know if they all think that way or if none of them think that way. I know Jim Hobson used to think that way, but he's not even with us anymore, and he's not in the league anymore. Laverne in Swift Current writes in, he says, the Toronto Argonauts look like the perfect fit for Nathan Rourke. Then they can just let their other quarterback walk away. Why not $1 million? Yeah, that's the thing. The salary cap is a little more than 5 times that. There is a way to do it. Bentley in Regina writes in, he says, Rod, 2 spots for Nathan Rourke, Edmonton or Saskatchewan. Edmonton would be a better spot, but McLeod, Bethel Thompson would have to go. Sask, the 2nd spot, but Trevor Harris would have to be let go. Monetarily, he could fetch $250,000 to the $400,000 range. Just my humble opinion. He's $1 million quarterback in the CFL. Who's going to give it to him? That's all I'm saying. Who will it be? I will come back on that in a second. I got to mention a little Blue Jays for you. Toronto Blue Jays general manager Ross Atkins says the club's busy trade deadline day did not signal a rebuild, but rather a retooling for the MLB team. Atkins says he expects the Jays to contend in 2025 and beyond after shipping out every pending free agent on the team. The list included Danny Jansen, Nate Pearson, Justin Turner, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Kevin Kiermaier, and Yusei Kikuchi. Toronto received 14 players in return, almost all of them prospects. And I guess that's why the Jays are getting anywhere from A- to B+ for what they did on the trade deadline, which is cool. You're still the most disappointing team in baseball this year, and somebody has to pay.
Oh, no.
I haven't forgotten. Somebody needs to pay. Blue Jays, by the way, dropped the 3rd game of their series with the Baltimore Orioles Tuesday by a score of 6-2. Toronto starter Chris Bassett fell to 8-10 after giving up 5 runs on 9 hits in 4 innings. The Blue Jays finished the game with just 5 hits, 4 of them singles. Can I tell you something funny? Because I'm going to anyways. I don't know if it's funny or not. Clark, you'll like this one. I'm calling the ball game last night here in the Western Canadian Baseball League. The Regina Red Sox at the Moose Jaw Miller Express, a playoff preview. And guess what, Clark? There was a brouhaha down the third base line with the Red Sox coach and the Moose Jaw fans. I'm like, what? Oh, my God. I'm sitting there. Don't have a color guy, which I never do. And I'm seeing a lot of monkey business going on. And now the umpires are getting involved, and they're drunk in the beer gardens, and they're yelling. I heard what they were yelling. It's not like the guy didn't have reason to be upset, the third base coach for Regina. I get it. If somebody said that, I would have lost my ever picking mind. But I'm just sitting there going, I'm on Moose Jaw's side now, for years on the Regina side. And I'm like, turn around and coach the game. Like, he's yipping at the fans. They're yipping at him. The umps got to get involved. We thought a brawl was going to break out. I'm like, what is this, 1995? The faces change. Human nature does not change. I'm going to tell you, these 2 teams meet in the playoffs, what it looks like, and it looks like they will. It's going to get wild. But in my mind, I'm going home last night thinking of Wally Buono, the Wally Buono, winningest coach in CFL history, saying on this show, you can't engage with the fans, Rod. You know that. Wally Buono never turned around all those years on the visitors' sidelines at Mosaic Stadium and Taylor Field, never turned around. And as a matter of fact, why the fans loved me here was I grew up in the crowd with those fans. Not necessarily doing the yelling, but certainly listening. And in the old place on the east side, the most vile things I could even conceive were said at Wally Buono when he was with the Calgary Stampeders, and he never once turned around. But that's Wally. Nerves of steel. And you got this Regina coach getting into it with the fans. You're gonna get what you get. Listen to Wally. You can't engage with the fans. But that was the kind of night that we had last night. By the way, CFL fans, join us for the second annual Labor Day Golf Classic at Aspen Links in Regina, hosted by The Rod Pedersen Show. It's your chance to golf with your choice of Rough Riders and Blue Bombers alumni the day before the big game. DM us for details. So, to point 4, reports say the Edmonton Elks will start Canadian quarterback Trey Ford in Week 9 against the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Ford entered last week's game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the fourth quarter and ended with 121 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. But it wasn't enough for Edmonton, who fell 44-28. The Elks at 0-7 remain the only winless team in the CFL. Here's the thing where I'm surprised that I get along as well as I do with the coaches, considering we look at things so completely differently. I don't get them, and they don't really get us. Yet here's us trying to coach, and there's them trying to broadcast. You know what I mean? It's just like, for instance, we all knew Trey Ford had to start this game for Edmonton. You're 0-7. He had that wonderful fourth quarter in their last game. You got to start him. But Lapo comes on the show here Monday, Paul Lapalisse, our good friend. He's like, well, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. We're not in the rooms. We don't know. Pick one. Trey Ford has to start. Is it going to be enough? Like, I haven't looked at the lines, the betting lines yet. Let me do it. CFL point spread. Come up very quickly in my browser here. Let's go to covers.com, shall we? Why not? What do they got here? They got Saturday, Riders favored by 5.5 over Edmonton. It wouldn't matter who was starting. It wouldn't matter if Warren Moon was starting in his prime. Sask will win. Although it is probably the biggest trap game. It is probably the biggest trap game in the history of sport. It's the biggest trap game in the history of sport. Edmonton at Sask on Saturday. Is there any way the Riders lose? I don't think so. You want to know the other betting lines? Oh, by the way, that's our poll question today. What is Canada's game of the week? And the Week 9 lid lifter is leading in terms of the vote. Last I saw, BC at Winnipeg Thursday night. The Lions favored by 3.5. BC Lions favored at Winnipeg, 3.5. Friday Night Football, the Alouettes are at Hamilton. The Alouettes are favored by 4.5. Les Alouettes. They're not going to have Cody back for that one, right? And I don't think. And then they might. Oh, they did? Okay. Clark saying they activated him. Edmonton and Sask. Being the stalker that I am of Cody Fajardo, you'd think I'd know that. But no, I got my head ensconced in the Olympics. Toronto at Calgary Sunday. The Stampeders are favored by 3. So there's that. They're bumping Snoop Dogg here. And they're banging it in the club. Asking who's your Mount Rushmore of broadcasters, both Canada and USA. Thank you, Stamps fan. Jeff the Stamps fan for answering the bell. He says, Al Michaels, Bob Costas, Brent Musburger, and Joe Buck. You understand there really is no wrong answer to this? Jeff the Stamps fan in Canada, Bob Cole, Rod Black, Chris Cuthbert, Don Whitman. Well, here are mine. Subject to change. But in the USA, Howard Cosell, Bob Costas, what did I say? Marv Albert. And the music's distracting me a little bit, but that's okay. I like it. In Canada, I need some more time. Foster Hewitt, because he was the first to do it all. By the way, I looked up who was the initial podcasters. They were credited in 2004 as being the first to podcast. You'll never get their names. They look like a couple of nerdy music guys. They weren't news or sports people. Foster Hewitt. Don Whitman. That's a no-doubter. Stop. Don't at me. You had him. He's on anybody's list. Dick Irvin. Dick Irvin. Even though we don't get along. There's a story there. And, yeah, I'm going to think about that. We'll get into that with Jim Lang next hour a little more. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the Stamps bell makes the show. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, with some in the CFL, I wouldn't doubt somebody gives him $1 million, only to make him restructure. See, Jeff, now you're coming around to my way of thinking. That's it. We'll give you the $1 million, but then a month later, we'll restructure the deal and not pay it. Scott in Vancouver says, pretty sure Mike Riley was getting big money in BC for a few years. Yeah. No, I know. I think that topped out at like $700,000. But I think somebody will give Nathan Rourke $1 million. One of these loony owners will do it because that's what they do. That's their MO. Mandy in Edmonton says, I was trying to get Chris Jones' attention from the sideline, but he wouldn't turn around. Yeah, that's Jones. He probably didn't hear you. I'm going to just say he probably didn't hear you. But I don't think Jones ever did engage with the fans. Not that I recall. Not like that third baseman. Third base coach. Carlos in Indianapolis says the Elks got to do something, so why not give Trey Ford a chance? Oh, yeah, it was the obvious thing to do. Too obvious. We'll see how it plays out on Saturday. We're going to Edmonton next. We're live here on the Game Plus Television Network, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The WCBL continued to grow this summer. 12 teams, 2 provinces, pacing towards 400,000 fans, an all-time high in 2024. The WCBL had a record number of players drafted in this summer's Major League Baseball draft. 2024 playoffs start August 7th.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
That's me. Hey, we're brought to you in part by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Now's the time. You should be working on your shooting abilities. Stop in at OT Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, and book your lane today, where skill and fun collide. Legendary Edmonton broadcaster Dean Millard joins us now. Dean Ducky Millard. Hey, Ducky, good to see you, my man. From Vengeance Sports
Good to see you,
Media.
RP.
Listen,
Good to chat with you.
Yeah. We're going to jump right into this. I want to come around to hockey, of course, because you hosted the Oilers postgame show for so many years. But the decision to start Trey Ford this week at Sask was not a decision, I wouldn't think, right? What's your view on the 0-7 Elks and the quarterback change?
Well, honestly, what other choice did they have to make? I mean, you said it earlier. You can debate it if you want because you need to fill time on the radio maybe, but it's like if you're debating it, it's the old radio trick where one guy is going to take this point and the other guy is going to take this point because they're trying to create something. There's nothing to create here. I mean, you saw it when he went in late in the game. I don't know why it took so long in my mind. By that time, there were even less fans there were at the start of the game when they were able to see that. So this is a no-brainer. And, you know, on paper, the Riders should walk all over them. But what does Trey Ford do for the Eskimos? Are the Riders, as is common in sports, overlooking a lower opponent? This could be what and in the CFL, I mean, unfortunately, you're still in it as for the Elks. You'd like to see maybe not two teams that are bottom feeders like the Elks and the Bombers, but for the Elks, that gives them an opportunity. And what it's going to do for all of us, Rod, is going to make the finish exciting. We're going to see teams that are going to try and get to the playoffs, and anything can happen, as we've seen the Bombers lose to an 8-11 team in the past and things like that. So I think it throws another wrench into the people that thought the playoffs were set in the CFL. Whether or not it comes to fruition that the Eskimos can come back and Trey Ford can do it or not, at least it gives Edmonton fans something to talk about other than 0-5, 0-6.
I love that you just said Eskimos, and you don't even know that you did.
Oh, did I? Oh, I apologize.
It's good.
I certainly did not do it on purpose, yeah.
You're not going to get canceled, at least not by me. I hear it slip out of Edmontonians' mouths fairly regularly. You know, yeah. The funny thing is this league's been around for over 100 years. We see the wildest, craziest endings every year. But by the end of July, people want to write teams off already. It's like, do you not remember last year and the year before and the year before that? So, yeah, anything can happen in this league with only 9 teams. Now, listen, I want to move on to hockey because, again, you did the Oilers for so long. Here's the top 5 Stanley Cup futures favorites from NHL Network as of today. Keeping in mind it is July. Oilers, Panthers, Avalanche, Stars, Devils. You think the Oilers are the favorites to win the Stanley Cup as we sit here today?
I do. As hard as it is to get back there, Florida proved that you can do it. I think the Oilers had such a great run to the Stanley Cup final and almost as good of off-season. Like, they brought back Henrique, which I did not think they were going to do, but maybe he said, hey, I didn't get much of a chance in the playoffs. I want to see what I can do healthy on this team with McDavid and Draisaitl. They get some depth. The only thing they weren't able to do, and I don't even know how this is doable, is improve the defense. I mean, Darnell Nurse's contract is what it is. You're not getting rid of it. The players love him. It would be as much of that contract as an anchor. Rod, you've been around enough locker rooms to know what happens when you trade a centerpiece of that locker room. It takes time to recover. So, like the Oilers would have to pay so much to get out of that Nurse contract, and the players don't want him traded. So that has to go by the wayside. As much as the talk is that it's hurting them, that's the only thing they haven't really done is improve the blue line. They got to re-sign Broberg, and he took a step forward. So I really do. And the other thing, this might sound kind of hokey, but what just happened in Connor McDavid's life? I mean, it was a life-changing moment. We always see players starting to mature. And I saw Connor when he came into this league, and he would end every interview by saying, and yeah, because he was shy and nervous. And now you see Connor McDavid commanding interviews and taking this team on his back. He's getting married, probably be starting a family. That just seems to settle guys down a lot. You talk to them, it's like, oh, especially their first child, and that will come. The Draisaitl stuff will easily get done. I mean, this team is virtually intact from last year. That's not always a good thing. They have made some changes, and we'll see what maybe Dylan Holloway can do. But I think they are. I think that this is a team. Now, I think the Dallas Stars are going to be their biggest competition. A lot of people look at the Avalanche, and I'm not counting them out, but I think Jim Nill said the other day that the Oilers maybe not really got lucky, but maybe it wasn't the Stars' best foot forward. So I could see an exact repeat of the conference final in the West coming this year. And, you know, when you get to that stage and these two teams are so good, and what will Stankoven be able to do next year, and Johnson and everybody else, I think you're going to have a repeat of the conference final. But I would say the Oilers are the Stanley Cup favorites, yes.
Well, that's nice. I hope they enjoy that. And for their sake, I hope they do win. We have a lot of viewers in Edmonton, and I appreciate every single one of them. Dean, you may know that. I want to throw Laura's comment at you and me. I said, who's the Mount Rushmore of U.S. broadcasters and Canadian broadcasters? A Mount Rushmore. Laura writes in from Edmonton. She says, hi, it's Laura, new viewer of your show. I love it. My Canadian broadcaster is a duo. Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez are the best baseball broadcasters ever. Their voices are so sweet and clear and descriptive. As gorgeous as American broadcaster, it has to be the late, great Dodgers broadcaster Vin Scully, superior broadcaster and voice and storyteller. Signed, approved. Laura. Sure. And again, this is meant to be fun, not arguments. But Mount Rushmore's 4 voices. And trust me, if I wanted to put mine on, Tom Cheek would be on there, the legendary Blue Jays broadcaster. Whatever. I'm talking the Mount Rushmore of Canadian and U.S. broadcasters. For you, I haven't really settled on the 4th, Dino. I said Foster Hewitt, Don Whitman, Brian Williams. No doubt. Doesn't have to be play-by-play broadcasters.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So that widens it. Obviously, Bob Cole is my favorite #1 hockey broadcaster. He was the guy I grew up with and that I remember. Rod, I've been in broadcasting for over 27 years. My favorite moment was shaking Bob Cole's hand during the 2006 Stanley Cup in the catwalk at Rexall Place. Like, not a game. It was meeting Bob Cole. So he would be #1. I love Ron McLean, and you know it's very polarizing these days. But I love the broadcaster Ron McLean because he taught me a lot by watching him and getting to meet him. Gene Principe is one of the nicest and has such a hard job because he works for the broadcaster, but he is perfect at what he does. A lot of people say Ron McLean is the pun master. I love Gene Principe as that sort of thing and a really good storyteller. And I'm going to go way back to Kurt Keelback, man. Winnipeg Jets 1.0. And Kurt Keelback was a pretty good Jets broadcaster. So that's my Canadian ones. Vin Scully, ultimate best. I'm going to LA next weekend to just soak in what I can at Dodger Stadium from the late, great Vin Scully. I would just put Vin 4 times on Mount Rushmore. 4 different pictures of Vin Scully. There you go. Good. I love Tom Cheek. People listen to him in the backyard.
Oh, yeah.
But 1988, Vin Scully's calling of Kirk Gibson's home run is why I'm a Dodgers fan and why I'm going to LA. So, Tom Cheek, but you said it.
Oh,
Backyards in Canada, he was the voice of us.
Yeah, Dean, you and I could go on forever, man. Ryan in upstate New York says Mount Rushmore of U.S. broadcasters. Kurt Gowdy, Marv Albert, Dick Enberg, Al Michaels. BW in Edmonton says my Rushmore, Dan Kelly, Jim Hughes, Steve Armitage, and Brian Hall. What do you think, Farley? I'll tell you what you think.
I love.
Yeah,
Armitage.
I was listening.
Armitage is.
I know.
Just loves it.
Steve Armitage. Yes. All these. Okay, I'm going to let you go, Dean. We always have such a great time. Have a great summer. Enjoy your trip to L.A.
You too, RP. Thanks very much for the time.
Dean Ducky Millard joining us from Edmonton. We'll be right back with a sports update if we have time, but more of this because it's more fun. Live on Game Plus Television, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Professional basketball is back in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rattlers are heating up. Catch them live at SaskTel Center in Saskatoon from May through August. The team is packed with high-caliber talent from the NBA, NCAA, and professional leagues around the world, with a head coach straight from the LA Clippers. Secure your seats now on Ticketmaster, starting at just $20. See you in the Snake Pit.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Welcome back for the final segment of Hour 1. So many things to say, so little time. These guys were getting a kick out of me dancing in my seat here to Snoop Dogg. They think I'm the old nerd. They don't get it. I just think they're cool. They wear a helmet on their bike, for God's sakes. That's okay. Let's let them believe it. For instance, I've kind of gotten into Dan Patrick now. And it's one thing about us old guys. We know things that the young don't. And the Danettes, the people around Dan Patrick, were saying to the OG, really, on the Mount Rushmore of American sportscasters, pretty much everybody is going to agree with that. They were talking about Jerry Jones and how Jerry just wants to be the center of attention. He wants his Cowboys talked about, and that's why they're the most profitable team in the NFL. And the young underling said to Dan, were the Cowboys America's team before Jerry Jones? Were they all that? Dan's like, yeah. The America's team slogan came up in the late 70s. They were winning Super Bowls before Jerry, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach. Our older viewers know that. But I guess if you weren't around, how would you know? You wouldn't know. So there's certainly a benefit to having a little years under your belt. How about that? Especially in this business. Tell me if this isn't as confusing as it seems to me. The 2024 Canadian Elite Basketball League 6th season is gearing up for the playoffs as this year's single elimination format begins Friday with a play-in doubleheader. The Eastern Conference and Western Conference playoffs feature 4 rounds, beginning with the play-ins Friday night, leading to the conference semifinals, conference finals, and then the CEBL championship final game. The Eastern Conference play-in series sees the Ottawa Blackjacks traveling to Scarborough, taking on the reigning champion Shooting Stars at 7 p.m. Eastern Friday night at Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre. Immediately following that game, the Western Conference play-in will tip off at Wynn Sporting Calgary when the Surge hosts the Winnipeg Sea Bears. Really, that's all you need to know. Ottawa at Scarborough Friday night, followed by Calgary home to Winnipeg. I'm going to stop there because then it gets confusing, at least to me. The Niagara River Lions and 2-time league champion Edmonton Stingers will host their respective conference semifinals Sunday against the winners of the play-in games. Semifinal winners will advance to the championship weekend where the Vancouver Bandits and Montreal Alliance await their opponents for the conference finals. I'm going to stop there. All you need to know, the Memorial Cup of Pro Basketball is in Montreal. Champions Weekend. There you go. That's your sports update on this Wednesday. Defeat boring Sundays. Every Sunday, kids can get out of the house and score a movie ticket and snack pack for one great low price. Every movie, every Sunday. Landmark Cinemas Kids Day. Turn the average Sunday into a movie-filled fun day. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes. Some terms and conditions apply. Children must be 13 and under and provide valid ID. Valid for new movie releases only. We'll continue it. This is a fun topic. Who's on your Mount Rushmore? John Ohm says Chris Cuthbert should get some recognition. Jeff the Stamps fan says best Canadian broadcaster all time, all genres, Peter Warren. Ryan in upstate New York says for non-play-by-play U.S. broadcasters, ooh, that's a tough one. That's what we do here. We make you think. We make you feel something. We've been doing it for 1,307 shows, and it will continue in hour 2. A lot of NFL coming up with Jim Cleverlang. Everybody stick around. We'll be back after this.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
He lives in the Calgary area. He's like, Roddy, get your pads on. Mercer's back's bad. I'm like, okay. But I always had it in the back of the trunk of my car. And Nabokov lined up 10 pucks. He goes, you, me, 10 shots, 10 goals. How many do you think he scored on me? The Siberian Sniper, first round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. How many do you think he scored? 8. 5. Come on.
Whoa. This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Hour 2. This is going to be great. It's always great, but especially great here in Hour 2 of episode number 1307 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show here on the Game Plus TV network. Of course, airing in 31 U.S. states, including New Jersey. We had Jim Biringer with us, Jersey Jim, last hour talking about the NHL Stanley Cup playoff odds, the favorites from the NHL Network. Edmonton, Florida, Colorado, Dallas, and the New Jersey Devils are the top 5, according to the NHL Network here in July. But a lot of football is what we're going to get into here in Hour 2. Can we please welcome in Canada's foremost NFL expert, Jim Lang? That's my term for him, not his, but I don't think you mind. How you? It fits, Jim. It fits. I like it. How about you?
I like it too. Yesterday, I was a rugby sevens expert, loving the women's rugby sevens, Canada's win over Australia. And I was just in awe of the New Zealand team who won the gold medal. That was incredible sports. I love my football, but if you've never get a chance to see rugby sevens, it's fantastic at the Olympic level.
Wasn't that your signature tagline on Sportsnet? Loving it. Isn't that what you? That was
Loving
your thing?
it. Yes, it was. Yes.
Yes,
yeah,
that's what I thought. Well, and you also have the hot takes. Look, we got you here for a lot of NFL stuff. And the beautiful thing about the NFL,
okay.
They got a 24-hour network dedicated to the NFL. You never run out of things to talk about with the NFL. But I saw what you said on Facebook last week, that the women's soccer scandal for Canada was the biggest Olympic scandal in Canadian history. And I disagreed immediately. I said, I still think Ben Johnson's was bigger. They haven't had a medal taken away. Agree or disagree? Do you still think Bev Priestman, the scandal is the biggest ever?
Well, I mean, according to the investigative reporting of Rick Westhead from TSN this morning, this did not just happen out of the blue, that this had been going on for years. He has details of an email that Bev Priestman sent within the inner workings of Canada Soccer and the women's national team, alluding to the fact that the men have been doing this for years, the men's team. So this is, I think I just read something that they've actually hired a law firm from Toronto to do a full like a forensic investigative report. Like, how far back does this go? How long has the men's and women's national team been doing something like this? And I think the shocking thing about it is when they won the gold medal in Tokyo, they were among the most beloved, the darlings of the Olympic world. And probably the story of that Summer Olympics for Canadians was the gold medal. And unfortunately for the players, you can't help but cast a pall over it, that there's a bit of a dark cloud hanging over that championship, that gold medal. Take it away or not take it away, people are always going to think, but did they cheat? Did they do it fairly? Now, they may have done it completely fairly, but until we get to the bottom of everything, until we find out exactly what's going on, it's hard to not get by it. I mean, you saw the emotion of the Canadian women when they beat France, sobbing, talking to reporters afterwards. It's so unfair of the athletes, but for the coaches and the managers and the administrative to do this, to think they needed to do this and saying, well, everyone else is doing it to get the edge. And all the strides we've made for soccer in this country, I still think it's a scandal. I think it's, and we've not heard the last of it. And the funny thing for Ben Johnson, it was just one guy. This is two teams that they're talking about now.
I know, but were you not watching in 1988? I know you were. You literally finished the race, and they're like, come here, sir. And they literally almost snatched it right off his neck. This here, I hate that they punish the players. Yeah, go nail her to the wall. But I hate that they punish the players.
And I agree. And the players are, I mean, how they've won the two games with all of this going on is just a testament to their mental toughness. I mean, you can say what you want about, certain athletes. I'd like to see anyone else in that situation with that kind of pressure, knowing you had 6 points stripped away from you and you had to, if you think of all the odds going against them, to think that they still have a chance to advance to the next round is an incredible tribute to the athletes, to the young women going out there representing Canada. But, history has shown that so many of the elite sprinters of the late 80s, early 90s were all tainted with some sort of PED. We have seen and read and heard all the stories since then. And that's what I think in hindsight. Yeah, Ben Johnson got caught, lost his gold medal, but was he the only one doing something like that at that time in track and field? I mean, come on. No, he wasn't. And we've seen all the different people who got for PEDs in track and field at the high level. And of course, all of them say, I didn't know I took it. It was an accident. But, it happens.
Well, fun debate. Kind of smacks of the NFL a little bit, doesn't it? It's certainly been brought up by everybody. So I'm going to switch over to that with Canada's foremost NFL expert, Jim Clubber Lang. I got a lot of points here that's going to take us through our 40 minutes. Some exciting, some not so exciting, but people are going goo-goo gaga about the rules and the kickoffs. I don't get as big into that, but I'm sure you are probably one of the guys that does. So my first one is this. The NFL will have a new look this year when it comes to kickoffs. Owners voted this spring to overhaul the kickoff, hoping to revive a play that had little action last season after most kicks resulted in no returns. Owners also approved other rule changes, including banning the use of the swivel hip drop tackle that had led to several injuries. The new rules get their chance to be used Thursday night in the exhibition opener between Houston and Chicago in the annual Hall of Fame game. It's just the XFL kickoff rule, basically. But now, and then for onside kicks, you need to tell the other team and the officials you're going to do it. So it's going to be a big change, Jim. I wonder if people forgot about this.
I don't mind all the other rules except for the onside kick rule. And that you're telling teams, to tell the other team you're doing the onside kick. And I still have vivid memories of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Bill Cowher was the coach, with the onside kick. He told the officials at the start of the second half of the Cowboys, when they were doing the Super Bowl, I believe it was in Arizona, and caught the Cowboys like snapping. They didn't expect it at all. And that changed the momentum of the game. Now, the Cowboys go on to win the game, but the Steelers made a game of it. And Neil O'Donnell, if he doesn't throw 3 interceptions, maybe it's even a closer game. I think that's a tool that for coaches who harp on special teams, that they've done all the pre-scouting and say by week 9, week 10, they're like, hey, we're playing such and such a team. When it's the third quarter or it's the fourth quarter, they can get kind of lazy in the kick coverage. We're going to try an onside kick. And so it feels like you're taking that away from the coaches and really to hey, we're doing an onside kick now. Why even bother? If you're doing something like that, a lot of these onside kicks are disguised in such a way that it doesn't look like it. That's why they do it, to surprise the other team to gain possession. So I'm not so crazy about that rule. We'll see how that plays out. Now, the swivel hip tackle, that's quite interesting. A hip injury for an athlete, as you know, Rod, can be very serious. And that was one of the things where defensive backs who felt they were undersized, going against a lot of big, strong tight ends. Now, the average tight end is, look at Travis Kelce, how big he is to the average DB. They thought, great, it's almost like a judo type move, the hip swivel tackle, and you slam them down, you make the tackle, and it's less stressful on the tackler, but it can result in some injuries. So this is just a case of the NFL trying to protect players. That's one thing they've done quite a bit of, whether it's how often you're allowed to practice with pads in training camp or headshots and knee shots, and this is another one of them. But the question is, with this rule now, is how defensive backs cover big receivers and big tight ends, that they've taken this tool away from them to make those plays. And so in fantasy football, I might be going heavy on tight ends because it could be racking up big points and big yardage early in the season, why teams and defensive teams figure out how to combat that.
I'll let you have a sip of water and step back a second before we plow back into more NFL stuff. But I had Jersey Jim Biringer on us with us last hour from NHL Full Press, and I brought up the Mount Rushmore of broadcasters in the USA and Canada. Reason being, I'm on a Dan Patrick kick now. I like listening to everybody, but every morning on my walk, I listen to Dan. He's so good. And I'm like, this guy's got to be on the Mount Rushmore broadcasters, right? So I was thinking, for America, who would it be? This is national broadcasters and not just play-by-play guys. Some of our U.S. viewers have chimed in and said, well, that's opens the field up a lot bigger. I'm like, yeah, it does. Dan Patrick wasn't a play-by-play guy. Imagine if he was. But I got Dan Patrick, Marv Albert. I'm not married to that, but I think Marv Albert. Sorry to take a detour, but there's a lot of comments have come in on that. Bob Costas. Bob Costas is on mine. And Howard Cosell, absolutely the first. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in, he says, Canadian Mount Rushmore, Foster Hewitt, Don Whitman, Bob Cole, and Chris Cuthbert. Glenn in Medicine Hat says, how about teams in the booth? Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen, Pat Summerall and John Madden, Danny Gallivan and Dick Irvin, Dan Hicks and Johnny Miller. And Carlos, watching in Indianapolis, says John Madden can go on there for color commentators. Yes, but he's not a broadcaster, and even John Madden would tell you he's not a broadcaster. The football guys think they're football guys, and the broadcasters think they're broadcasters. Let's not get it twisted. Or do whatever you want, but...
I like your Mount Rushmore. I would take Marv Albert off and put Vin Scully on, because Vin Scully, he actually did some football as well. And but he for CBS radio in the 70s and 80s, but his longevity to be the voice of the Dodgers and work alone in the booth and do a simulcast on radio and TV, where the people watching on TV didn't think they were listening to a radio show, and the people on radio didn't think they were listening to a TV simulcast. And to do it for 5 decades will never be matched, as far as I'm concerned, Rod. Vin Scully, what he did as a broadcaster, as a storyteller, to make you compelled to watch it on TV and listen on the radio and be equally entertained, is one of the most difficult things in broadcasting. And he did it for 5 decades. So for me, Vin Scully has to be on there.
Okay. I got you. Like I say, I'm not married to this. I'm just throwing it out there, and it's a fun debate. And I will say this, I had a rental car in Los Angeles. It was about 2010. Vin was still calling the games. And I dialed up, I think it was 790 KCLA, the home radio broadcast of the LA Dodgers. That was just gold coming out of my radio in the rental car. To listen to Vin on the You know, the AM band, where it originated, man. It doesn't get better than that.
And Rod, it was never about him. The broadcast was the Dodgers, and they're playing the Cubs, and they're in Chavez Ravine, and it's the 5th inning, and he's telling a story about Sandy Koufax and Rick Monday, and you could almost smell the hot dogs in the stands while you're driving around. That's like how he did that for so long is incredible to me. Like it's just,
and made it
he's just on a next level. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get back on point here, but I will. I was in Dodger Town in Vero Beach, Florida, where the Dodgers held their spring training. The Riders had a free agent camp there. And in the front office, the Dodgers have many years ago abandoned it, but they left everything behind. And there was a big oil painting of Vin Scully in the lobby of Dodger Town. Not Lasorda, not Kurt Gibson, not Kovacs. Vin Scully. It tells you what he means to the organization. Okay, I'll get to the other comments from the viewers in a second. Back on point. And I appreciate everybody chiming in with theirs. Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams will not make his NFL preseason debut in Thursday night's Hall of Fame game against the Houston Texans. Bears coach Matt Eberflus said Tuesday the #1 pick of the NFL draft from Southern California, along with all Bears starters, will sit out the first game. Eberflus said he doesn't need to see starters to play in an extra preseason game, considering they have 3 others, plus a practice session at Hallows Hall against Cincy on August 15th. Does that take a little chutzpah away from the Hall of Fame game, do you think, or no? Yeah?
And I mean, the only reason I watch it really is to see the Hall of Fame inductees do interviews during the game. Basically, it's a cannon fodder game. It's the fringe players, the depth players. These are the players that basically have been in camp just to keep the veterans fresh. So week 1 of the preseason official to kick off on Thursday, August 8th. That's when you start seeing players really start to do some work on the field. And, the preseason's getting shorter and shorter in the NFL because they realize it's a waste of time. I mean, the Jets have already kind of hinted that Aaron Rodgers won't play any snaps in preseason games. It's just going to be practices and scrimmages that he feels like he feels he doesn't need it. It's why risk the injury after bouncing back from that Achilles injury. So this is sort of the way it's going in the NFL. They're trying to get through the preseason, get through training camp as unscathed as possible if you can, because injuries will happen in football, like non-contact injuries. And that's part of the game and part of sports, unfortunately. And that's why they're I mean, at the end of the season, remember last year how many key players, star players were on the injured list. And that's the goal, I think, of all teams and in all the head office of the NFL is to get the star players on the field on much as possible on a weekly basis, because that's how they sell the game. They want to see Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers going head-to-head on the Monday night game. They don't want the second and third string. That does nothing for the National Football League. So, yeah, I'm not surprised what's happening tomorrow in the Hall of Fame game, and I'll be watching just to see them just interview different Hall of Fame inductees throughout the game.
Jim Lang sticking with us graciously for one more segment. When we come back, John Gruden ain't giving up. John Gruden is not giving up. He wants back in the NFL. They're talking about replacing the chain gang and ball markings. That's coming up. We're going to discuss that. And Nathan Rourke, too, because he's a Toronto guy. We'll be back in a second. We're live on Game Plus Television, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastih.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
This is just so much fun. Brought to you in part by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing's Speakers Bureau. Check them out at emjmarketing.com. If we can bring in Jim Lang, they're having fun with the Mount Rushmore of broadcasters, both Canada and USA discussion. Wilf is watching on Game Plus TV in Steinbach, Manitoba. He says, hi, Rod, my Mount Rushmore for me, Danny Gallivan, John Madden, Don Whitman, and Bob Euchre. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, Danny Gallivan for hockey, Don Whitman for football, and I need to mention Pat Marsden. He was at Jim for CFL broadcast, too. Jim, I got into this at the tail end of all those gems getting out. Pat Marsden was a beauty. Did you ever have anything to do with him?
I actually work with him. I was a producer of his morning show when he was at the Fan early in my sports career. And he was finished with TV and was coaxed back to radio. And I learned so much from him, and he really was a legend. And the way he prepared, the way he did things, he didn't like anything computer. He had a notepad, and he would write in I guess whatever you call it, proper script writing. He would handwrite everything, all his notes, beautiful penmanship. He looked every day like he was going to the booth at the CTV call for the half of the Grey Cup before they flipped to the CBC. Just an absolutely wonderful guy, larger than life, and a real legend of broadcasting in this country. And he is, to me, I know they talk about builders. He was a builder for the CFL, for what he did for the CFL and as a broadcaster in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, much like Don Cherry was for the NHL in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, because of their impact. And they spread the game to so many people who maybe otherwise wouldn't have watched it. So Pat Marsden was a true original, a Canadian broadcasting legend.
I love it, Jim. Before we delve back into the NFL stuff, this is NFL related. Today, Oakville's Nathan Rourke is working out with the Atlanta Falcons. He accepts an offer to stay on the practice roster. That'll be his 4th team in the NFL without ever having taken, I don't think, a regular season snap. We all kind of think he'll end up on the CFL eventually. How much you following that story? What are your thoughts?
I am following it. And think about the Falcons' depth chart. So they'll sign Nathan Rourke. Just assume they do. They go from 3rd string to 4th string. Taylor Heineke, Michael Penix Jr., and Kirk Cousins. So where do you think Nathan Rourke fits in that depth chart? Who's he going to take reps from? He's going to be there for one reason only, is to work with the scout team and give the big guns rest in camp, because they're getting into the heat. I mean, I have been to the Atlanta Falcons practice facility in Flowery Branch, Georgia, and it's unspeakably hot and humid. And after about 45 minutes to an hour, most of the players and quarterbacks are barely standing. It's so hot and humid, and he's there to spell off the quarterbacks. It would be nothing else. The last preseason game is on August 25th, and it's a perfect opportunity for Atlanta. They know they just signed him to the practice roster. He's insurance in case someone gets hurt in the preseason. And once they've finished their last preseason game on the 25th, they're like, okay, thanks a lot, Nathan. And he's one of the final cuts, and they still have Kirk Cousins, who they gave all that money, Michael Penix Jr., the top draft pick, and a guy who's played in the NFL and started games, Taylor Heineke. So the Atlanta Falcons, they look at the depth chart, they're like, hey, we're set. Bring this kid in from Canada. He's just good insurance in the dog days of the training camp.
Bingo!
Camp body is the definition of the term there. And if he's fortunate enough to get a practice roster spot, I think he would deem himself very fortunate to do that. I see the comments online, and I'm enjoying it. I think, again, he'll come back to the CFL. I think he could fetch up to $1 million because one of these zany owners will do it. That's always been their MO, Jim. But somebody said, some fans says, he hasn't played in 2 years. He's not worth it. He's been getting the best, most exceptional coaching, taking reps every single day in New England, Jacksonville, and New York. Don't say he hasn't played for 2 years. He's coming back better than he's ever been in terms of talent and experience.
And I like to think that he, from all impression I get, he's bright enough and smart enough that he would try to learn something from every coach and other quarterback he worked with at all those other teams. Because all those other teams would have a different way of doing things that he'd be able to learn from and make him a better athlete and a better quarterback. So I agree that he's not at home just working out in the backyard. He's in an NFL training facility, in the meetings, looking at the video they look at, learning playbooks, and who knows? I tend to agree with you, Rod. By the end of August, he'll be back in the CFL. Who he signs with, how much money, who knows? But just think about it, whoever gets them, the knowledge and experience he's gained throughout this is going to make the team that gets him even better, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. Now, you fancy yourself a Raiders fan, so I'm wondering your thoughts on this. John Gruden, not so much anymore. Are you moving off that?
No, I'm just, you get beaten enough, you're just like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm a fan.
Okay. John Gruden. He follows the Vegas Raiders, everybody. John Gruden is asking the entire Nevada Supreme Court to reconsider a decision to throw out his lawsuit he filed against the NFL over emails leaked to the media before he was forced to resign as coach of the Las Vegas Raiders in 2021. An NFL spokesman declined to comment, and attorneys for Gruden and the NFL didn't respond to email messages about Monday's court filing. It was the latest development in Gruden's lawsuit, alleging that Commissioner Roger Goodell and the league forced Gruden to resign from the Raiders by leaking emails containing racist, sexist, and homophobic comments that Gruden sent when he was an on-air game analyst at TSN about Goodell and others in the NFL. Before you say anything, we did a poll on our Instagram. Do you miss John Gruden in the NFL? Over 75% said yes. But I think Roger Goodell voted no. He don't like John Gruden. Are we ever going to see John Gruden again, do you think?
I don't think so. Now, think about this. Say he wins in court. That's fine. And say John Gruden says, well, I guess, you could work in the NFL if you wanted to. But I think because of the baggage, because of what went on, because of the allegations, I'm not sure a team was going to take the chance. There's so many good young coaches out there, so many other options that would probably be their first, second, and third choice before they go to John Gruden. Now, there may be someone that eventually goes, yeah, John Gruden's the answer to my problems. But you think about when he had his heyday, it was in the late 90s, early mid-2000s. Well, that's 15, 20 years ago, because he was in the broadcast booth for a long time before he went back. And the league has changed, and players has changed, and how you practice in camp and everything about it has changed. And you can't always go back to coaching after you've been in the broadcast booth for as long as he has. Some can, but I mean, after everything that went on, Rod, I find it hard to believe that a team would be willing to take the hit in public relations and media that would come the way of hiring John Gruden. Because you have to weigh that. Is it even worth it? Because we're going to get hammered in the social media, in the press, with the fans if we hire the guy. But if I hire plan B or plan C, then I don't have to deal with that. And we have just as much chance to win with them. So why not go with the other guy who doesn't bring all that negative energy to your facility?
That certainly seems to be the way that it's looked at now. So I'm glad I asked, and I'm with you. Now that you say that, it makes sense. Now, here's another one. When you turn on Dan Patrick, you know you're going to get these things: college football, NBA, and right now, for sure, the Olympics. And that's what he's talking about. But he brought up on the college football front, if you believe this, are you following what's going on? The NCAA, Jim, still investigating Michigan for when Jim Harbaugh was there and the allegations of spying, for which he was suspended last year, you remember. And he ended up going to the Chargers, take over L.A., and he's like, see, they're still investigating the team and talking about punishing them by not allowing them in the college football playoff. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone, but I know of the spying. My guess is the way the NCAA thinks is there are the athletic director and the school administrators and people above Harbaugh knew something. So unless that's why they're doing it, because maybe they have information we don't, Rod, and that's their way of saying, Harbaugh wasn't the only person involved, if you know what I mean. So they're looking at trying to punish the other people, or people still there with the Wolverines football program. Yeah, take away the playoffs or not, it's still one of the, if not arguably the biggest money-making NCAA football team in America. In the stadium, they have 105,000 every game, right, at the big house, and then merchandise. You can't go anywhere without seeing Michigan Wolverine merchandise somewhere. So you could take the playoff game away from them, but it's not really going to change the love affair that a lot of people in North America, including a lot of Canadians, have for Michigan Wolverine football.
You're good. And that's why I have to realize sports is such a fantasy land compared to real life, because I do so much work in recovery, mediation, all that stuff. A lot of times it's, if you go and get help, or if you just leave, we'll forget everything. Just go. But in sports, no. They get a long memory. Somebody needs to pay, right? We need to be public about this. It's so different than real life. Anyways, my last point. The NFL is moving closer to replacing the chain gang with new technology to measure line to gain. NFL executive Gary Brantley told the Associated Press the league will test Sony's Hawkeye technology during some preseason games. The system wouldn't be ready for full implementation until next season, though it could happen sooner. Sony, which was named the NFL's official technology partner today, has expanded its sports tech through Hawkeye innovations to support officiating and the development of on-field and sideline technologies, including a new coach's sideline headset that will debut in 2025. In retrospect, can we believe that it's 2025 and we're still using really the naked eye of officials to spot first downs?
And I'm with you, Rod. It is kind of weird considering all the other technology that is employed in the NFL. Like, I'm in the stadium with the teams in the broadcast. Now, here's my only concern. It's great that they're testing this in August when the weather is so nice. I want them to test it from about U.S. Thanksgiving and in November into January. Sideways rain in Tampa, blizzard conditions in Green Bay. Does it work in high wind and crazy weather? In Denver, they'll go from sunny at halftime, and by the third quarter, there's 15 centimeters of snow. That happens up in Denver. So I think the NFL, if they're smart, do the most of the testing and Sony are smart, do it in horrible weather. Because if it works in really nasty weather, high winds, rain, snow, all that kind of stuff, then it should work in good weather. And I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't have the chains as a backup anyways. You could still have the chains going up and down the field. So if something happens to the technology, you have a way to mark down in distance. But yeah, I mean, they have everything else they've sort of figured out technology-wise. It's surprising they haven't gone to that. But my concern is testing it. It doesn't matter if you test it in August. You need to test it in November and December.
Fair. But I will say this. I wonder what your thoughts are. I don't know how much CFL football you're watching now, but there was a lot. Every week there's talk about the command center botching calls. So I'll say this, Jim. As long as there is a human element, because humans aren't perfect, officiating will not be perfect. What do you think?
Well, that's true. I mean, you've seen it in the NHL with the war room, right? When they make calls and you're watching, wait a sec, they made that call and they went to, the Bay Street headquarters in Toronto. We've been watching in the Olympics sometimes, even during the rugby sevens, they're like, the ref goes, I'm not sure about that, looks at the Jumbotron, and they're like, wait a second, what is he seeing? And that is at the end of the day, you nail it, that's the problem. The human being, the official, looking at the video, interpreting it, 9 other people could look at it differently and say a different thing. And you can't take that away. That's just the reality of it. So I agree. And all leagues are dealing with this issue that, okay, the ref on the field can't make the call. Let's go to the head official in the booth upstairs or in the war room, as the NHL calls it in Toronto. But then that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make the right call. So then the refs, hey, it's out of my hands. I went to the video official. That's what they said. Game on. Don't yell at me.
I know. Oh, my gosh. Well, it's ruining games, right? I mean, I think baseball got it right with the pitch clock this year. They really did. As a matter of fact, they might have shortened the games too much. But I don't think I told you that I'm broadcasting minor league baseball out here in Western Canadian this year, Western Canada. It's called the Western Canadian Baseball League. It's an NCAA collegiate league, Jim. No video replay. No big screens in the scoreboard in most parks. Is it ever nice? Nobody bitches with the umps. You made the call? Like I've been calling games all year. We're heading to the playoffs in a week. Nobody bitches. It's about sportsmanship. It's about the way that it used to be, man. Can you imagine? It still exists.
Well, pick the sport, baseball, hockey, football. For decades, they had, say, 2 dozen officials, and you like, oh, okay, we're getting Rod Pedersen. So we know he calls this, this, and this, because everyone had a book on the official, because they knew that was their human element. That was what they're all about. And the history of sports in the last 100+ years, you could do a 3-hour ESPN 30 for 30 on blown calls at every level of sports, amateur and professional, Olympics. That's because of the human element. I mean, there's even one of the most famous black and white baseball videos of all time is Jackie Robinson stealing home when Yogi Berra is the catcher, and Yogi Berra going crazy because he's convinced he made the tag. And that's one of the most famous, blown calls. Was he out? Was he safe of all time? So every year, every decade, every whatever, there's that. That was the call. I don't know if we can ever get away with it. Even with all the technology in the world, Rod, there's always going to be those issues in sports.
I know, but the fans sure love to talk about it. Jim, thanks for spending so much time with us. Enjoy the rest of the Olympics and this NFL preseason. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks, Rod.
Jim Clubber-Lang, Canada's foremost expert on the National Football League, and many, many other things. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover. We're live on Game Plus TV, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Thank you, Director Tuna. It's a Tuna Turner production today. What's love got to do with it? Right, Tuna? Okay, it's just me and you. Looks like, yeah, we've run through the guests today. Great work by producer Clark. Jersey Jim, Dean Ducky Millard, Jim Clubber Lang. Love all those nicknames of our guys. Now it's just you and me. So, before I delve into the sports update, some interesting stuff here today. I want to know who's on your Mount Rushmore of sports broadcasters. USA only, Canada only. Can we at least split the two? And yeah, Ryan in upstate New York, thank you, from the No Credentials Required podcast. He's watching. He said, ooh, this is tough when you don't use play-by-play guys. Because the line's blurring. It's getting a little muddled in that just because you're not a play-by-play guy doesn't mean you're not a broadcaster. Like, I'm scolding myself for not putting Ron McLean on my Canadian broadcaster Mount Rushmore. Kind of makes it easy now that I think about it. Ron McLean, Brian Williams, Dick Irvin, Foster Hewitt. Ta-da! Wait a minute. I got to get Don Whitman. Don Whitman, absolutely. Plus, he's an original Saskatchewan guy. So I got to think about it a little bit. And for sure in America, Bob Costas. Listen, go back and watch some of these old documentaries that he's in. Whatever they are, like Last Dance, I think he was in. Serena and I were just watching one recently, and I was like, oh, my, is he ever good? Oh, Bob Costas. You forget. And it's kind of a shame that It takes these old documentaries to remember people. Not just the broadcasters, of course, but the athletes themselves, the coaches, and so forth. They get forgotten over time. And it is what it is. But today we're talking about the broadcasters' Mount Rushmore. It's just such a fun topic that people don't ever, at least I don't ever get tired of. Whatever it is. Who's your Mount Rushmore of Rough Rider players? Who's your Mount Rushmore of this, Who are yours? And it doesn't just have to be play-by-play guys. Here's a good one. News today from the Canadian Press Wire. A ruling by the FIFA Appeals Committee puts former Canada coach John Herdman at ground zero within Canada Soccer for spying on rival teams. The ruling, which dismissed a Canadian appeal of FIFA's sanctions imposed on the Canadian women's team at the Paris Olympics for using a drone to spy on New Zealand, says Canada Soccer pointed the finger at Herdman on July 27th. Oh, boy. Did he not issue a statement denying this? I'll give you a little example of something, by the way, just so you know. I was saying earlier to Jim Lang, I work in the recovery field now, right? Mental health, substance abuse. And just so you know, over 90% of the people that will appear in court today to face charges committed their crimes while under the influence of some sort of substance. Just so you know, we're trying to fix that. So we do work with the law a lot. We work with lawyers a lot, mediation. And, just to walk it back to yesterday's thing, where a lot of those drag queens that were performing in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics have filed charges against the people that are coming after them with online hate and threats. Damn right they should. It's not right. They're just trying to perform in a damn opening ceremonies, and they're having their lives threatened by somebody who doesn't like gay people. That ain't right. So I said years ago, because obviously I deal with a lot of online hate, the next person who threatens my life will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And of course, I think you know me by now. I'm going to stick by my word. So somebody came at me, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. So we sicked the police on them, and we found them. Because you think that you are anonymous doing this stuff. You're not. Just so you know, you're not. It's like that, my favorite show on TV now, Louisiana Law. It's phrase, if you're doing wrong, we're going to find you. And we found him. So the cops called me from the guy's office, and they said, yeah, we got your perpetrator. And I said, what did he say? Oh, he denied it. But they all do. That's the bottom line in the story that I'm getting to. John Herdman denied it. Okay. Well, I guess these soccer folks, what are we going to do? I'm a landed immigrant in the United States of America. I am doing nothing to cause the disrepute of America. I wouldn't even think of it. John Herdman and Beth Priestman are brought in to coach our national teams and disgrace the country. Kick them out! That's what I think. Former NHL All-Star Eric Staal is retiring after 18 seasons. The Carolina Hurricanes announced Tuesday that Staal had signed a one-day contract to retire as a member of the organization that originally drafted him number 2 overall back in 2003. Won a Stanley Cup with them 3 years later. Hurricanes said they will retire Staal's number 12 jersey in the upcoming season. The New York Rangers avoided arbitration with Ryan Lindgren on Tuesday, signing the hard-nosed defenseman to a one-year deal. The 26-year-old Lindgren has become one of New York's most important players, skating on the top pair on the blue line alongside 2021 Norris winner Adam Falk. The Minnesota native can be an unrestricted free agent next summer if he and the team cannot agree to a contract extension before July 1st. Interesting on that. So he's just signed a one-year deal to keep their blue line intact. I was having coffee. You might remember me saying this earlier this week with my cousin Peter. Big-time Flames fan, lived in Calgary for a very long time. He's back in Moose Jaw now. And he said that he has got a big problem. Like, he was a big-time Rough Riders fan, too. And he said his problem he has with the CFL now is that the players move around all the time, every year. And I'm like, every team, every league has that. Now, Lindgren's staying with the Rangers, but it's just a one-year deal. Look at Oliver Ekman-Larsson. 1 year with Florida. Wins the Stanley Cup, goes to the Leafs. Every team does it. So while we can, and there's nothing on Peter, of course, I love him. But that's the perception's reality, Rod. As one of our staff members used to say, perception's reality, Rod. Now, I got a huge problem with that. But that maybe you can't go against the way people think. If the perception's that's a problem with the CFL, I'm just going to, every league has that problem. But I think it's because it's such a smaller league, you notice it more. I don't know. Sports updates for Landmark Cinemas. Every Monday is Seniors Day. Get more of the movies you love every Monday for less. Seniors enjoy 20% off the posted seniors admission price. And to sweeten the deal, receive 20% off their concession purchase too. So make Mondays your movie day because a great deal never gets old. Check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for showtimes and pricing. 902-518-3033. Who was on your Mount Rushmore of sports broadcasters, USA and Canada? I'd love to know. 902-518-3033 or the YouTube feed as well. Rhino Radio, you still up down there in Atlanta? Who is your USA sports broadcaster Mount Rushmore? I want to know. We'll hear from all of you when we come back in Viewer Takeover and Overtime. Live here on Game Plus TV. Key Radio in Atlanta, your southern home of sports and talk. Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The WCBL continued to grow this summer. 12 teams, 2 provinces, pacing towards 400,000 fans, an all-time high in 2024. The WCBL had a record number of players drafted in this summer's Major League Baseball draft. 2024 playoffs start August 7th.
Professional basketball is back in Saskatchewan. The Saskatchewan Rattlers are heating up. Catch them live at SaskTel Center in Saskatoon from May through August. The team is packed with high-caliber talent from the NBA, NCAA, and professional leagues around the world, with a head coach straight from the LA Clippers. Secure your seats now on Ticketmaster, starting at just $20. See you in the Snake Pit.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
The studio is right here at the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Yeah, buddy. And Overtime is brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Now's the time you should be working on your shooting abilities. Stop in at OT Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, and book your lane today, where skill and fun collide. Also, if you're looking for a fun and innovative way to hold a birthday party, I would suggest it. Fully licensed bar and restaurant as well. Go check them out, Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Fun, fun, fun. Asking you who is on your Mount Rushmore of broadcasters, USA and Canada, sports broadcasters. Ooh, Laverne and Swift Current, you're coming with the heavy hitters, huh? Laverne says USA, Al Michaels, Jim Nantz, John Madden, and Bob Costas. Did you watch the Football Life on John Madden or any of the many documentaries that were aired about his life? He was a broadcaster longer than he was a coach. And I'm pretty sure the same was for Don Cherry. But if you asked either one of those guys, they would say they're coaches, not broadcasters. So because he says also shout out to Harry Carey. I've read all of their books. I guess I was fascinated with them and the industry as a young guy. Harry Carey was the legendary Cubs announcer, and of course, he did the Cardinals before that. If I go back, it's only been 40 years since I read it, but I think he was from St. Louis, Harry. I got to go back and read that book. It was called Holy Cow. I got to order all these books. I got to read them again. It's been 40 years. But I think he left the Cardinals under auspicious details and circumstances and found a home with the Cubs, where he became the beloved broadcaster, Harry Carey, of the Chicago Cubs. I'm going to take Madden off your list and put Harry Carey on there. Here's mine. I finally settled on it, and this is airtight. USA Mount Rushmore for broadcasters. Howard Cosell, Vin Scully, Dan Patrick, Bob Costas. And the thing with Cosell is, if you watched any of the documentaries on him, and there's some wonderful ones out there, he could do all the sports. And he could do play-by-play, he could host, he could do color, he could do it all. Not all these guys can. Laverne and Swift Current, and gals. Laverne and Swift Current says, same Laverne, but says with Canada, Bob Cole, Don Whitman, Dave Van Horn. Oh, was he good with the Expos, hey? And then went down to the Marlins when they got an expansion team and never left. And Donald S. Cherry. But I'll say it again. Don Cherry and John Madden, if I may, they weren't broadcasters. I'm sorry. They weren't. I mean, that's how they made their living at the end for a long time, but I just don't consider them broadcasters. That's just me. David in Winnipeg writes in and says, Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford in Edmonton sounds spicy. Well, it hasn't happened yet, and to be honest, I don't think that the Edmonton Elks football team has enough money to buy a cup of coffee, let alone to give $1 million to Nathan Rourke. So, Tony in Cochrane, Alberta, says, Jim McKay, Wide World of Sports. You youngsters probably have no idea of the names I'm throwing out. I don't remember that name, Jim McKay, but that's just me. Bomber Boy says, Lucky Whitehead to start for the Bombers versus the Lions. Put it in the win column for the Bombers. Slow your roll. You're going against the BC Lions, who are 5-2, right? The voters, last I saw, Clark, what are they saying on YouTube for Game of the Week? What I saw most recently is BC Winnipeg's leading. How about that? How about that? Lions,
that?
Bombers leading the poll for what's Canada's game of the week in the CFFL. Lions, Bombers. How about this? The Moose Jaw Miller Express, the team for which I broadcast baseball, has a 4-game homestand starting Thursday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to severely curtail my CFL watching, but it is what it is. My game of the week is Sask and Edmonton, and I have the meme written down here from Dean Ducky Millard. On paper, the Riders should walk all over them. Will that be the kiss of death, or is Edmonton just so bad and the Riders so good that he's right? I don't know, but it's just the dumpster fire that we can't turn away from. That one I'll probably have a device set up in the broadcast booth at Ross Wells Park. David number 1 in Winnipeg with the Mount Rushmore of Canadian broadcasters, sports broadcasters. He says Chris Cuthbert, Rod Black, Dustin Nielsen, Brian Williams, all in no particular order. Jay writes in, and I'm not sure from where, but he says Gabe Morency. That's funny because he just wrote me today. Gabe Morency from the Sports Rage. From Ryan O'Radio in Atlanta, he says Frank Gifford, Brent Musburger, Al Michaels, and Dan Marino. Oh, you got some greats there now, Ryan O'Radio. Frank Gifford. Have you ever been to that steakhouse in St. Louis? Deerdorf and Hart's? Gifford had some money in that. And Dan Deerdorf, too. That was probably the best steakhouse I've ever been in. Deerdorf and Hart. And Frank Gifford was one of the owners there. Ryan in New York says John Madden's buses put rock band buses to shame. Right? The Madden Cruiser? John Madden didn't want to fly anywhere, so he drove everywhere. Sounds like a good life to me, especially if you're not driving. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says since the advent of one-year deals, half of every Calgary roster's free agents on any given year. Every team's got that. It sucks, but you can rebuild in a hurry. It's actually a really good thing. You just don't identify with the players anymore. But you know what? Those days are gone. It's going to be fun. We'll do it all again tomorrow right here.
McFly, hello.